Just as a heads up, this video has to do with death, a mention of suicide, some pictures of dead bodies, so if you're not into that, you might want to click away now. For all of you staying, hi. If you thought this channel was just going to be me talking about weird movies, you'd be wrong. So when I was in college, I took a history class on the American Civil War where I wrote this essay, Bates, Booth, and the Body, Making Money Off of the Dead. So what was the assignment? Each student in the class was assigned a different file from the Black collection and wrote an essay based on the research they did. So what's the Black collection? It all starts April 14th, 1865. The Civil War has ended, the Union won, and we're all having a good time watching Our American Cousin in Ford's Theater when, bang! Our president Abraham Lincoln has been shot, and the actor John Wilkes Booth jumps out of the presidential box onto the stage breaking his legs, yelling some form of, Sic semper tyrannis. Sic semper tyrannis. That's kind of debated what was said when he jumped off, but I didn't get that file, so that's what we're going with. And escapes. Some days later, Booth is found in Garrett Barn where he is surrounded, refuses to give up, so the barn is set on fire, and he is shot in the neck, dying a slow and paralyzed death. But was it really John Wilkes Booth that died in that barn? Yes. Yes, it was. Definitely. And that was the point of the Black Papers, to find out whether John Wilkes Booth was killed in that barn. Frederick Black interviewed people who were at the theater during the assassination, family of John Wilkes Booth, and anyone who had any connection to the assassination and escape of John Wilkes Booth. And the conclusion? Yes, it was John Wilkes Booth that was shot in that barn and died. Here's a picture of the vertebrae with the bullet in it. That's his. He died. So why do this? Why did Frederick Black go out and collect all of these testimonials? That's where we get into this. Let us again travel back, this time to 1878 in Texas, where the assistant to the Attorney General of Tennessee, even though he told everyone he was the Attorney General, that was a lie, Finis Bates, who is at the deathbed of his friend John St. Helen. According to Bates, who we already know is a liar, St. Helen told him that he was the real John Wilkes Booth and someone else was shot in Garrett Barn. He also apparently told him that then Vice President Andrew Johnson was the orchestrator of the assassination, even though there was an attempt on his life as well, so... But anyway, St. Helen makes a miraculous recovery and skips town, losing connection with Bates. Years later, in 1903, a man named David George is staying in a hotel in Oklahoma. After telling a random woman that he was the real John Wilkes Booth who escaped after the assassination, he goes to his hotel room and commits suicide by ingesting arsenic. His body was taken to a local funeral home where he was embalmed with more arsenic and formaldehyde, waiting for anyone to claim his body. When no one came, the funeral home owner took his body, propped him up on a chair, put the latest issue of the newspaper in his hands, and charged people a dime to see the body. Papers found on George's body after his death call for Finis Bates, so he goes over to Oklahoma, checks out the body, and in his mind, he thinks this is John St. Helen, so he claims the body and takes it back to his house where he stores him in his garage. For a while, Bates would rent out George's body to different traveling sideshows and circuses, displaying him as the body of John Wilkes Booth. And in this time, George went on many adventures. He went to the St. Louis World's Fair. He was part of a train accident that killed 8 other people, but managed to get out of it without a scratch on him. And at one point he was stolen only to be returned for the reward money. So after all that, what's next for Booth and George? Apparently writing a book. Bates came out with the book, The Escape and Suicide of John Wilkes Booth, which was his way of backing up his claim that the body he had was that of John Wilkes Booth. This book caught the attention of Henry Ford. Yes, that Henry Ford, the one who made Model Ts and came up with assembly lines. And Bates offered to sell him the body. Not wanting to buy a fake John Wilkes Booth, Ford enlisted the help of an employee, Frederick Black, to see if the claims in the book were true. And now we're back to the conclusion, which John Wilkes Booth died in Garrett Barn. David George is not John Wilkes Booth. Funny side note, after Black collected all of this evidence and presented it to Ford, Ford forgot that he even told him to do this. So, that's where the story ends, right? Well, no one knows where the body is. Yeah, George is lost. No one knows where his body is currently. After Bates died, his wife sold it to Dr. Clarence Wilson, who then sold it to a carnival owner, who then had it taken from him and stored in a basement in Philadelphia, who then had that lost, and now he's just gone. Apparently the last time he was seen was at a carnival in the Midwest in the 70s, so he's just out there. Now, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. I'll link to another video, maybe right here, made by Ask A Mortician. She covers the body of Elmer McCurdy. They're fun videos, go check those out if you're interested in death and bodies and stuff, like me. Also, fun fact about that, Elmer McCurdy was embalmed in Oklahoma about 2 hours away from where David George was embalmed. So, there's a tale about John Wilkes Booth, a body lost out somewhere in America, a guy who tried to sell Henry Ford a mummified body. And on a personal level, I just want to know where he is. He's somewhere out there just giving off arsenic fumes to whoever owns him. And one last side note, the granddaughter of Finis Bates is none other than Academy Award-winning actress Kathy Bates. So where is he, Kathy? Where is David George? Where are you hiding his body? I know you know where he is. Yeah. Thank you for watching.